Thank you for joining us today. My name is Marie Nelson. These fellow group members are Ann Martinez and Sheen Cooper. We are research scholars in the sociology and communication learning community. Our final class project is a group effort to interview students that are identified as Asian/Pacific Islanders and how welcome they feel here at TCC. And how that may possibly influence them to apply themselves academically and socially. We are conducting a focus group to scrutinize the cultural competency on the TCC campus. We would like to ask you a few questions about your personal experience with diversity, equity, inclusion here at TCC in a 45 to 60 minute focus group interview. During the interview, you are free to not answer any questions you do not feel comfortable answering. You can also feel free to stop participating at any time. The information from this research will be presented to the Equity Diversity Committee to influence change of policy practice, which will promote a more diverse and welcoming climate here at TCC. We have provided a consent form for you to review and sign. There are some short demographic questions on the back for you to complete. If you would like a copy of your form, please see us after the focus group. We are audio and video recording this session to aid this accuracy, as we will transcribe your response and code them for common themes. If you do not consent to both audio and video record of this session, you are free to end the participation at any time. I, Marie, will be your moderator of this discussion. Please listen to your fellow participants' response with open mind, and since we all come into situations with our own perspective. Anne will be taking notes during our discussions. Sheen will be the videographer. All three of us may ask you follow-up questions or ask you to clarify a response if given. So, on the scale from 1 to 10, how welcome do you feel at TCC? And explain. Anybody? What?
You can go ahead and repeat the question.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how welcome do you feel here at TCC?
I feel at least like an 8. A lot of it is because, fellow students, my peers, when I first come on campus, I've been here for a little over a year now. Everyone's pretty welcoming, helpful, people at the OSE, anything. I haven't had too bad of an experience. I'd say, solid 8.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to answer that question? Yes, J4.
I'd say about solid 7.
Why?
So majority of staff and students have been welcoming, but I have had run-ins with more particularly staff rather than students about not really feeling all that welcome. And that was when I was first beginning my trek here in TCC.
How do they not make you feel welcome?
There were certain specific situations that I got into. One of them being was when I first initially enrolled, I was asked to provide my social security card. And this is for financial aid and actually being enrolled. And I've noticed that literally the only people that's ever been asked that was not just Asian people, but people of color. And I was going to school, I was enrolling at the time with a lot of white friends, and they never ever got that question asked of them.
Did you guys ever get that question asked to you guys? No.
No. I would rate mine as 8 as well, but I've been here for 3 years in TCC. I feel welcome and everything, and every staff that I've encountered with is very helpful. I rate 8 because more likely as part of an Asian community as well, and also part of the LGBT community. There's something in this school that I would say that it's not LGBT friendly. We could all agree that, I don't know, some people don't agree on that community. There's just nothing much going on with LGBT community. There's no poster here that keep me welcome, pretty much on that other side. But Asian-wise, I see diversity, people of color, Asian, white, everything in here. But more likely, that's my last 3 points on that. There's nothing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to just restate that I first came here 4 years ago, so I don't know if things have changed over these past
It
4
is your
years.
last quarter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna pass out the survey that TCC had taken, and you guys get to see and see if you guys believe it's accurate or not, or how you feel about it.
Let's see.
There you go. Sorry, and I'm missing that. How did I miss you guys? Sorry, can you guys share? Yeah. Obviously, I doubled up somewhere. So how do you guys feel about this welcoming survey? You think it's accurate, or what are your views?
I mean, to me at least, it looks right on the money.
Looks right on the money?
Are you talking about just specifically for Asian Pacific Islander, or are you talking about for overall?
Both. Well, we can do specifically for Asian Pacific Islander. Would you all guys agree with this rating?
How are the numbers taken?
We don't know. We actually don't know.
The sample size was never given.
We actually
talked about this, like,
Really?
because we have Dr. Cho, like, in our learning community, we actually talked about, like, some of these, like, questions and, like, how, like, some of the, like, prefer not to say if we had, like, a certain amount, we could have gotten, like, so much benefits and scholarship for Asian Americans, but because they didn't prefer not to say, we're limited from that benefit. Like, even for like the American Indians or the Alaskan Natives, it's only like a couple of people that would just put 10 out of 10. So we don't know if it's like out of 100 people or it's like out of one person who just said 10 just for the sake of it. So it's like, it's hard to tell without like exact numbers of who they are.
Yeah, because then the numbers can be skewed.
True.
If it's not a true representation.
How does it make you feel to see Asian Pacific Islander race ethnicity combined together in one category on the welcoming surveys? Do you agree with that, or would you segregate those two, or?
So, I feel like it'd probably be better for better accuracy to separate them because, well, obviously, I'm a part of the Asian community because I'm Vietnamese, and the thing about like Asian identity here in America is like a long ass list of just. Wait, am I okay to swear?
You're fine. You're fine.
Sorry, that came out.
You're for candor.
Okay, so like even just the Asian tag alone is like a long list of not really millions, but like several different types of ethnicities. Like notwithstanding Eastern Asians, there's also Southeastern Asians, and then going further to the west, you know, it gets a little bit muddled as to who's Asian, who's not, as well. So.
Does anybody else have any intake about that?
I agree with that. So like with the Pacific Islanders, that category is pretty broad as well because it goes into like Polynesian people, Micronesian, Samoans. I mean, it gathers everything into one. So having it separately will intake a variety of how much we do have in that particular ethnicity. So yeah, I agree with her.
Michelle?
I agree with both of them. I just think putting the two populations together minimizes the importance of their voice. There are two different races competing to me, because as an islander, Asians are just something different. It's a whole other race, and when you put them together, just because they're both so small, I think you disregard their voices.
Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't know if I disagree. I think a lot of it is put together is because there's some people who could be considered, depending on who's talking, either Asian or Pacific Islander. And so it's hard for people to kind of make that distinction. Because again, you know, there's a lot of islands that are in the Pacific Ocean that may be a part of the continent of Asia. So I think that's why a lot of it is that. I think if they were able to do an in-depth thing, you know, where what country are you from, you know, what do you identify as either Asian or Pacific Islander, rather than putting it together, that would be better. But because of the surveys, I don't agree with them doing it, but I think it's more of a cost efficiency thing. I don't think that they're trying to minimize it, but it's also, you know, then it's a problem. Well, okay, are you Asian or are you Pacific Islander? You know, because one person might consider themselves Asian, one person might consider themselves Pacific Islander, but yet the exact same ethnicity.
I see. Thanks, guys. All great feedback. In regards to your race and ethnicity, how do you feel that your culture diversity is emphasized and appreciated at TCC? Or do you feel like it's emphasized or appreciated at TCC? Why can't I say that word?
You know, I don't think that this is my first year here, so I've only been here 2 quarters, but I haven't really seen anything as far as like a push towards Pacific Islanders. But going back to Asian Pacific Islanders, me growing up, Asian Pacific Islanders have always been together, so to speak, as far as communities, what we do together. One of my aunts, Lua Pritchard, is a big advocate for Asian Pacific Islanders. She does a lot of social work here. She received her Social Justice Award during the Martin Luther King Summit, and we're talking like over 40 years, you know, of work. And she advocates and she works at the Asia Pacific Hall off of South Tacoma Way, where they hold a lot of these cultural events. She also has been a leader of the Korean Women's Association for a long time. So, you know, with her being Pacific Islander, Asian, and my uncle being Pacific Islander, you know, I think there's a tie there, and it's always been like that. So this isn't something like that just happened. Does that make sense? This thing carries on not just out here, but also in prison.
Oh.
So the Asian Pacific Islanders have a car, what they call a car in prison. Okay, I know because I was part of that car. So a lot of things that they do they've always been tied together. I don't know if that's, you know, because we are basically in the same communities, a lot of us being on the east side, on the hilltop. You go to the east side, it's pretty much the Asian Pacific Islanders on the east side, you know. So yeah, Vietnamese, Cambodians, Samoans, you know what I mean? So I think it's just natural that we've always been together. I don't think it's anything that was planned. It just happens to be we're around them a lot and they're around us a lot, so we share a lot of things. So even in prison, we did a lot of things where we share culture. You know, one of the positive things I like is if, say, we'll just say Vietnamese came in to the prison, we would greet them and we would talk to them about, hey, you know, you're Vietnamese, do you know the language? You know, if he or she said no, a lot of times when you don't know the language of your culture, you kind of get, they kind of don't want to talk to you. Either they don't want to associate with you because they feel like you should know that, and they feel like it's big, and then they kind of feel like you're Americanized, and so that kind of sheds you in a negative light. One of the things I liked about this was that we would introduce them to other Vietnamese that would teach them the language, teach them things about their culture. So we would position them, someone from Vietnam that didn't know how to speak English very well, we would group them with the Vietnamese that did speak American very well. And so they could change and exchange language so that they kept their culture together. And then we would do things like sharing our culture. So one week the Vietnamese would tell us about their culture, what they eat, their food, their history, you know. And so that gave us a chance to all bond, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of this too is just because we've been around each other, we have a history. You know, it goes back a long time. I mean, he said so himself, you know, most of these islands are on the Pacific, on the Pacific Islands, you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of history there. And I also think too, maybe the Census Bureau has a lot to do with that as far as, you know, when they have identities, because when we studied in sociology, sometimes they'll put Hispanic, and then some Hispanics will classify themselves as white. You know what I mean? Mostly second, third generation, whereas first generation will see themselves as Hispanic. So that's why when we kind of look at the numbers, especially taking sociology, numbers are big, we're supposed to look into the numbers a lot. so we need to know a lot of things like, you know, how many people were taken in the survey, you know, a lot of numbers so we can look into the numbers to make sure that we're getting an accurate count. I think a lot of this is culture too, though.
AJ?
I was gonna say, adding on to that, I mean, now that you're speaking of it, because the cultures are shared, I mean, there's a lot of people who came from, or their grandparents or parents came from Asian countries who settled in islands, Pacific Islands, so they became islanders. You know, that's why I think a lot of islands, they share, you know, cultures from, you know, this country, or this country, or this country, and you have distincties. I mean, even if you take like Hawaii, you know, those are considered islanders, but you know, you have people who are strongly Chinese, strongly Japanese, strongly Filipino, strongly this, strongly that, and but they're islanders. So, I mean, now that you brought that up, I think that's a great point, that the culture is so shared that maybe that is why they group them together.
Hannah, do you have any input on that?
Well, I'm kind of like an melting pot. I'm Vietnamese, Chinese, and Caucasian. My mom's white, and my dad is Vietnamese and Chinese. So, I mean, I kind of don't like that we're categorized Asian and Pacific Islander, because there is so many diverse in the Asian community. So I feel like they could have added that into the survey. That's just how I feel.
So how comfortable do you guys feel asking your teachers for help if you are stuck on an assignment?
Sorry, I have no shame in
Yeah,
this, I
I
can't
agree.
even get a good grade. So, I'm very comfortable.
So everybody's very comfortable with their teachers?
100% always. I mean, I
Yep.
pay for it, so.
Exactly. Okay. So in regards to your race and ethnicity, what are some things you would change or like to see improve on the behalf of embracing diversity here at TCC?
That was a long one.
Is it okay? So in regards to race and ethnicity, what are some things you would like to change or see improve on the behalf of embracing diversity at TCC? Yeah, I don't know what's word like that.
Increasing
Anybody?
diversity.
When before I chose what school to attend, I was looking for a school that had a Pacific Islander club, and online the TCC website had it. It had the Pacific Islander page, and then when I got here, there was no such club. So I feel like if they did have that club, or maybe it stopped, but if it were to go up again, I think that would help embrace that culture.
That's a very good point.
Anyone else?
Yeah, again, we talked about that when we had the Lunar Year. So we talked about that Lunar Year where the Asian Pacific Islanders could get together and form a club. But the only difference with our club as far as what we wanted to do and what other clubs do is we wanted to make the club not just students, but teachers and staff or faculty. So that way, it would help the transition for new students that were coming in here. A lot of students, they kind of don't know how to do a lot of things, you know, when they come in here. But when you have a club that involves teachers, you know, they can help you network. They can reach out and help you with classes. You know, they can help you in so many ways that you just couldn't get if it was just students in your club.
To increase social capital in some ways?
Oh yeah, all kind of ways. Because, you know, you figure some of these teachers may be teaching, you know, in what you plan on majoring in. And now you got a direct connection to them, simply because you're part of this club. And that helps, it goes a big ways, you know. And you're more comfortable. And now you know who your teachers are gonna be. You know, they sign up for this class, and you know, it's a lot of help that you get. And if they don't know someone, they know someone who knows someone. You know, you can't get that just as a student. Student has to do so much. Having clubs with teachers, being part of these clubs, you know how much legwork you cut out, and how much red tape you get rid of, and how easy it is for the students. That's a lot of time you save. You know, for the students, and that's the benefits for it. It's for the teachers, it's also for the teachers too. Because the teachers that are part of these clubs, you're really impacting your life because there's a direct connection here. This isn't just, oh, he's my student. If I want to go in and talk to this teacher, he happens to be part of my club, I have more access to him now. You know, to talk to him about things that maybe otherwise I wouldn't talk about. You know, so there's so many benefits, very little, if any, negatives.
What about you, EJ? Did you have an idea?
So I would say the same thing as I've said earlier, that I wish that if we're targeting for a diverse equality and more program here at TCC, I would say maybe put up something about the LGBTQ community here. Even just for a poster, I didn't see anything. I walk around actually before I get in here, there's nothing. Even on emails, I see we focus on people with races, this multicultural language, but there's nothing in particular on that group or any other group. Hopefully someday that. And also I do agree that teachers should also be part of the club, because as students, we can only do so much. If a teacher step in, we have more foundation for that. I don't know, like voices, I would say, stronger voice for the community.
Are you part of the LGBT community? I'm sorry, I probably missed out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's a good point that he brings up too, because I work in the co-lab. So I do see people that are lesbian, do associate with that, and do want clubs like that. So I think that we can do something with that too. I mean, you know, if we're talking diversity and equity, you know, they have to be included. But, you know, I'm just tired of talking about it. You know, I don't like talking about stuff and then let's say we come back here and visit 5 years later and they're still talking about the same stuff. Come on. You know, what are we really doing this for if we're not trying to solve the problem?
Exactly. Our group was, luckily we were invited to present our research once we've transcribed and analyzed everything, to present it at the Equity Diversity Council, and they work towards diversity and equity and inclusion on campus, and they really want to hear directly from students. So that's why we were so excited to do this focus group, and that's why your voices are so strong, so strong.
I just want to add as well that like, this is the first out of my 3 years here in TCC, this is the first time I basically feel free to open up about my identity because of my communication class with Stephen Jones. On that class, I feel free to basically use my voice and all that, because in other classes, everything, I feel like there's still some teachers here at TCC that are trying to avoid that communication, that topic in class, especially
Like homophobic?
psychology. Yeah, they're trying. Basically, they're asking questions, and I want to answer like so bad, like, oh, what about the LGBT community? Like, it's on my answer, but they're still avoiding it. I still feel that, some teachers.
EJ just opened up the gateway for the next question, actually.
Which is, when you consider your race and ethnicity, how do you think your input is respected? Do you feel during your discussions with your classmates and teachers?
Do you feel like your voice is heard in class?
Not all the time. It depends on the teacher still. Teachers has something to do, like a lot for the discussion. If talking about like my community, the LGBTQ community, sometimes there's a certain teacher that I feel like I'm not comfortable answering. I'm not comfortable also opening up about the classes because I think teachers should start the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like, okay, well, should I basically like start the fire or what? And then everybody's gonna gag on me, you know? Because I'm not sure if everyone in the room is like accepting as other people or how I am accepted. So that's basically how I feel sometimes.
Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
But like, I think that your voice is so strong, it's like off topic. I think you should go in there and start the fire. I think you should be bold enough to just start it. Start the conversation. Screw them. Who are them? You know, like, I think you have a great voice that needs to be heard out there. And this is way off topic, but yeah, I agree with you. We don't hear much about that.
And there will most likely be other classmates or people around you that will see your strength in speaking up and witness that you can do it, and then know them for themselves. Okay, I can speak up too, or I can talk to that person and build a friendship, get more information, and that's how it starts. It's just a tiny little spark, and then it grows into a fire.
I think it's a good point too. I think that it is important for you to say something, but remember, Ann, when we were in our meeting, that one of the things that students, and I think what he's trying to say is feeling uncomfortable about some teachers, because what you say, then the teacher can target you.
Yeah.
Remember when we were talking about being targeted by teachers, you know, they may not feel comfortable with them, and so they can target them, and that really affects the student because they have arms in within their, I would say, group, as far as teachers, where they can talk to teachers, say, watch this guy, and it can really influence his grade and his future, you know, because that's what you're dealing with. You know what I mean?
We
And so
definitely
I
don't
can-
want any negative action like that.
Yes, and I can see why, you know, he would say it depends on the teachers, because
Mhm.
some teachers aren't as open.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so there's that targeting issue, and I remember that when we were talking, where Dr. Cho had brought that up, where students are afraid that if they say something to the people that control their futures, they can be targeted. You know what I mean? So we would need something to combat that, you know, especially for the communities, you know, such as the LGBT community, and for people that are saying or associating themselves with the gay community, you know, because just can't, the protection is not just for us.
Right.
You know, they're probably gonna face a little bit more scrutiny.
Piggybacking off of that, it's also like what I personally experienced is like, I used to have an English teacher, I don't know if they work here anymore, that favored only a couple of people. And whenever anything come up, they would always be prioritized. And I don't know, like, this was a class group of like 30 plus people, because this was a English 101 class that's filled with like, you know, Running Start students, students around my age, and older students, you know, of varying ages. And just to basically favor only like what, 3 out of like, you know, over 30 people, very much skewed the voices.
Were
of
races, did the person's race matter, or when they were favored? Or do you feel so?
I mean, out of the 3 and the teacher themselves, they were one race.
Which race was that?
That's true, yeah, because that happened to me too. Who is your English teacher? Because that happened for me for English.
She don't want to put out
She doesn't
names,
have to
because
share.
you know we're going to be sharing. this with
Oh,
the
She
DC.
doesn't have to share.
Okay, okay.
But you definitely felt like you could identify discrimination in that classroom and preference and.
Yeah, it's just like, the thing about it is like, the 3 favorites were very much relatively in, I'm gonna say their tag groups, the same thing. Aside from maybe their, what is it, social cliques. But it was just like, you know, like there was other students that I was friends with in there that was also like, they share the similar cliques, but you can very much tell that they're not, you know, wholly the same cliques, if that makes sense.
They're not as closed off as those other ones were.
Yeah, and so like, I don't know if my teacher was just like really an outlier on this. Outlier, I don't know how to say that word. But they were off the walls and actually singling out just the favorites of the group. Like they always had an opinion and they always had the time to speak out versus every single other person. And like I said, it's like a group of 30 people, over 30 people, and you're only listening to like 3 every single time.
Did the rest of the class raise their hand and they just didn't get acknowledged?
Yeah,
Wow.
like, and it wasn't just like all of us raised our hands too, because you know how that goes, but it was just more like, you know, there were people that definitely wanted to talk, but they couldn't get the chance to because they were never called on, and it was that kind of like, you know, the whole debate rule of like you have to be that certain common etiquette where you have to raise your hand so that you gotta, you know, wait for your turn to talk and all that stuff. So that kind of, you know, skewed things quite a bit.
Do you feel that it affected the education that you were able to get in that class because you weren't able to fully participate?
That too, and a whole bunch of other things that happened within this thing. Like ultimately I had to drop the class altogether and retake English 101 with another teacher. But it definitely did hinder a lot of progress, I'm gonna say. Just not on just like, not on just a representation level, but more of like just a basic level of, I just want to pass this class. Please do not hinder my progress towards my grades. Like, I'm just trying to get out of here as fast as I can. And that was being hindered. So, and it wasn't just me, it was other people in the class too.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Michelle?
Yeah, I feel like in classes, discussions are always races or black or white. So I feel like as a Pacific Islander, no one wants to hear my voice because what do I know? I'm not black or white. And so that follows for when I pick a teacher. I don't want to, it's making me feel like I need to pick someone who's of my race so they can understand me. So that my voice does get heard in class because discussions are important. So I feel like if teachers were not biased towards just black and white discussions, then more people would speak up.
Anyone else has anything to put in?
Yes.
Your name?
G.
Hey, G.
Welcome.
So we just want to piggyback on what you say because I've been in like communication class mostly. It seems like because you know you're talking openly and there are a lot of this acknowledgement towards like the segregation that happens with Asians too, and when we do talk about segregation, we never talk about smaller countries like Southeast Asia or like Pacific Islands and stuff like that. So it just feels like if you're not of the majority minority, I don't know if that's a thing, you're not really or even acknowledged sometimes. Because the first thing people ask, and I can't believe this is still happening, but in class, a lot of people would ask if I'm Chinese, and that's,
Oh,
and it's rude.
that's like asking someone if they're pregnant when they're just fat. You should never do that.
I mean, I don't have a problem with someone asking what my ethnicity background
Right.
is, but to make the assumptions, you know.
They should let you
And
share.
then they
if you
don't think
choose
of,
to.
and that, what shocked me is that this is also a person of color that's asking me this. And so I'm just, it's just very, it seems like we are slowly getting there, but we're not entirely, because it's just so quiet with like the small minority groups.
I think like, you know, with things, actions like that happen because I mean, unfortunately, as Americans, we're not included.
Knowledgeable enough.
Yeah, we're not educated. You know, we have a
And
stupid
also, I think
education.
it has something to do with the way how we communicate instead of asking, are you Chinese or what's your ethnicity? That's that way. So it's something really like rooted on each and every one of us that we're not knowledgeable enough. We don't know how to say things, that we're not cultured enough. Like if we say something, will that offend that person? Because I could take it like, oh, hey girl, what's your, you know, but the other way, you offended them, that you have no idea. For you, it's just like a regular talk. But we have these classes, like multicultural classes, so we could be knowledgeable.
You had something to say, Jean Jacket. I'm sorry.
Jacob.
Jacob. I've been hunting you down actually. Now I know who you are.
Well, it's kind of like for Asian or like Pacific Islanders, we never get the shine. It's kind of like, even on the news, it's like we never get the shine of like, unless it's like K-pop or like all those like pop culture stuff. It's like, even like in general, even like at the EDC meeting when Jamal like
Yeah.
said he doesn't feel welcome or like he can't understand when a white teacher is telling him like certain things that as a person who is colored, he can't really relate because they don't get the same like treatment. And then today when James Curtis came in, the things that he said actually stuck to me. He said like how people have the privilege but they're not willing to give that up, which that just went through my head like multiple times. Cause it's like, cause we have like this project about gentrification, whatever. It's like where like pretty much like the people who have the power, the privilege, won't let go of what they want to get their own sacrifice for us to become like the bigger people. It's like they just want to suppress that moment, and then even like we even talked about how like we should have more faculty of colors, because it's like it's hard to tell and say that it's like they can't really understand us fully. It's like as a Korean or as a Vietnamese person or as a Chinese or even like someone Guam, whatever it is, if you guys are in the same community and if you guys are in the same culture, you'll understand more. It's like you can't just read culture by its book. It's like you have to be in it. I mean,
Are you saying, Jacob, that you guys, that in some cases, because we're so focused on black and white, that you guys feel like a minority within the minority?
Yeah, it feels like it, because most of the time when you discuss race issues, very little do we report on like Asian Pacific topics. Like we are, and Hispanic too, I feel like slowly they're reaching towards that like minority kind of thing. Like this is offhand example, but like a lot of people know about Trump trying to deport Hispanics, but not a lot of people are talking about Trump signing a piece of paper that say that he's also going to deport 28,000 Vietnamese.
I didn't know that.
No, I did not know that.
So so it's not just school, but it should start with school, I feel like. But I just, you know, and it's not like Asians, we don't have a lot of communities here. We do, which is, it's really odd to see that teachers don't also include that in their discussions topics.
That is a very good point.
Hannah, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just learning.
Making sure I don't forget you, girl. So, how do you feel students of your ethnicity and race are perceived on this campus, and how do you feel that the influence you communicate with students and teachers?
How you feel, hold on. Which number are we?
10.
Okay. How do you feel students of your race or ethnicity are perceived on campus, and how does that influence how you communicate with students and teachers? How do you feel you are perceived?
I feel like I wouldn't know because I don't see people like me. Or at least, if I see them, I don't know it's them because, like, you know, there's no club to talk about it. There's no event that highlights Pacific Islanders. There's no speakers that come that invite Pacific Islanders, you know, things like that. So I don't know where they are, but I know they're here because it's a heavy population in this area.
You know, I think without having any clubs, it limits me to know the people around the campus. Like, I'm not gonna guess if I go to the class, hey, I'm Filipino, can you tell? Yeah, so it kind of like limits everything pretty much. I don't know anyone in here who's Filipino, to be honest. Like, yeah. So, yeah, for 3 years, I don't know anyone. Yeah.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you hang out with a lot of other ethnicities?
I do, yeah, actually, yeah. Every time I have class, because I gotta have some friends, you know, like if I'm not supposed to text them. So yeah, but yeah, it kind of like limits every single thing as possible. Like, you know, if you want to be very first with everything, it limits that. There's no club, there's no announcement, or there's no program. Like, hey, let's gather at this point, you know what, come so you can meet all the people that goes here.
If there was a club, would you guys attend?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My follow-up question is, if they said we are open to having a club and they wanted everyone here specifically to start it, would you be willing to be one of the founding members?
I would.
That is really good information to know. Okay.
When considering your race and ethnicity, how comfortable do you feel using campus resources like advising, the MARC, Writing Center, the Financial Aid Office? How would you describe the help or assistance that you are given?
With everything, besides financial aid, I'd be very comfortable with, just because I've had bad experience with financial aid. Again, I'm not sure that's because of, you know, I'm a person of color or a minority, so to speak, but everything else, I think they kind of look past that and are just more focused on academics because it's an outside thing, whether it's, you know, going to the MARC for math or what else do you say? Campus.
The Writing Center and advising.
Writing Center, I've used Writing Center before, and it was just like, you know, they sat me down right away, no appointment, and was just, you know, help me focus on what I needed to get done. So I feel comfortable with it. With financial aid again, I've had some problems with a certain member there that, and again, I don't know if it's because of how I look or it's just because of that person's disposition.
Michelle and G.
Yeah, so for the financial aid, as a Pacific Islander, some of the islands don't follow the same taxing system that goes on in the US. So when I was applying for financial aid, it pushed for long because they couldn't understand that there was a difference with IRS here and the local government where I come from. So if I didn't ask, they wouldn't tell me. So what was I gonna know about financial aid? I'm the first in my family to go to college. So, you know, if they were to be more knowledgeable about, you know, Pacific Islanders and their local governments, maybe it would be easier for us to get the help we need instead of giving up because we feel like they won't help.
G, and then Jacob.
So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to the perceive kind of thing. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think we're like physically, like as Asians, like our students are rather quiet and whatnot. So when it comes to group activities, people just don't really take into consideration to like slow down the speech. Cause like from where I'm from, we don't speak very loud or like very fast, and we listen to everything the other person has to say, then we talk. But it just doesn't seem like that's happening. So like, and almost like when it comes to group project, I always get picked last, and I always spoke last, right? So that's I feel like that's how it is perceived to be, and like, you know, it's just odd. It's just like an odd atmosphere once you're like aware of the surrounding and how people look at you and how they talk to you. Like the teachers, when you walk into the room, they would purposely slow down your speech instead of just talking normally, and like try really hard to pronounce your name, even if you tell them, oh, it's okay, you can just call me G. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like one of those things that's really kind of annoying me. Like, you know, just don't treat every student that is of color like an exchange student, and just listen to what they say.
You find that experience very insulting?
Somewhat, yeah, because, I mean, I understand that it's not like it come from a place of malice, but it reached that place just because they tried so hard to not be malice. You see what I'm saying? It just, they don't, like, if like you walk into the classroom and they come out and they're like, instead of just like, hi, how are you? They're like, hi, how are you? Like, it's very,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you guys have experienced that.
Well, I actually have experienced that in a certain situation where every time I am in a class, I feel a little bit more comfortable. If I do see another Asian, I know it's bad. But I mean, when I am in a group atmosphere, I do feel more comfortable if there's someone else like me in the group, because maybe I'll get more respected and not treated differently. I've just encountered that in any group, even in high school too. So I wish it was more equal.
Black people do that too. Like, we do that thing when we like look around, like, I see you, you see me? So I understand that. Jacob?
So pretty much me and Joe talk a lot about this. It's like code switching is like everyday thing. You just don't know how it happened, it just comes naturally. Cause it's like, you just do it naturally that you don't even know if you code switch or not. And then for me, I didn't get any financial aid, so I had to get my own like part-time job. And it's like, I'm paying like barely, like I'm like on the edge. Like all the money that I have to spend is like limited, so I can't really do anything. And like I even talked about like when I went to the financial aid, when I asked them what's wrong with my financial aid, because I know most of my friends who earn the same income as a family who have like the same family members are getting financial aid except for me. So I was like, that's weird. Because it's like, we make the same money, we're like in the same class, but how am I not getting the financial aid? So I went there a couple of times, and then I asked them directly, what do I need to change? And they didn't really clarify. They're like, our income is too high. I was like, okay. So for a few months, I was just like, whatever. I'll just try to pay. And then next time I went, Jerome Ward was actually there. And he actually told me what was the reason.
He's good.
And that's why I was like, you guys just couldn't have just clarified and told me that. Because like after that, then it got valid and I was like, okay, so you're telling me you could have just told me that simple thing, but you guys just didn't tell me.
Who's Jerome?
He was the
The
financial
one
aid
with
administrator.
the head of the financial aid, Jerome Ward.
Yeah.
He's not, well, not Jerome,
He's
but yeah, he's nice.
Is he still here?
No, Sunshine is here now.
Sunshine?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's the person that does it, and she's pretty good too, from what I heard. But he was fantastic. I mean, he
Yeah.
knew everybody and was very well.
And he also helped me for the financial aid outside and inside the campus. Like I communicate with him even though I'm just at work. Clarifies everything.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
And he makes sure you understand too. He
Yeah.
tells you what's
Yeah.
going on, what to do. He doesn't just say, oh yeah, do that, and just leave you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he tells you
Yeah.
what the issue is, how to fix it, who to see, you know.
To some people there, he's
Complete
gonna
help.
give you a paper and then you're like, okay, I already done that. Why is my financial aid still not in there? Well, you haven't done this. You could have told me that in the first place I met you, you know? But Jerome goes every single process. Okay, this is next and that, you're done with that, just waiting for this.
So do you feel, does anyone here feel that the treatment that they've received at the financial aid office may be based on their race or ethnicity?
I mean,
I don't think so.
No?
yeah, I just think
Information?
I don't think they really know what they're really doing.
Yeah, it's just not the.
I really don't. It's
I
like,
think there
how
was-
do I go to Jerome and he's able to just fire away on everything? I go to you can't answer the first question.
Right, that's true.
You know, so of course, I mean, a lot of us here, I mean, a few of us know each other, but you just saw the response when, as soon as Jerome's name came up, everyone's, oh, he's good. You know what I mean? So obviously people had positive experiences
Yeah.
with Jerome. And so if I can get a positive experience to Jerome, I'm just gonna go to him. I'm not even gonna look at anybody else if I can't get that kind of help. That's the kind of help I want. Not just, oh, here's a paper, go do that. And then you come back, okay, I did this, what I gotta do now? I want someone that's gonna say, here's what you have to do, boom, 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 boom. Come back and see me when you have finished this whole thing, we'll get you going.
G, and we didn't have agent, EJ?
Yeah, he's
G?
I think that most negative experience that people encounter with the financial aid just kind of boil down to the fact that they don't have any customer service skills. And they're very, I don't think they're not trained because you have to in order to work. They probably know their stuff. It's just they are so poor in communicating and they don't really have the, you know, the customer experience because I'd be okay if I talk to like an intern in there or something that doesn't really know what she's doing, but she's nice and she's like, you know what? Let me figure things out and then let me ask my supervisor and whatnot, and I'll be okay with that. It just, you walk in and then immediately they don't even say hi to you, they're just like, what's your student ID? You know, and stuff like that. And then there's like, it looks like it's not finished, so go finish it and then come back. Well, when do I come back? What do I need to finish? I think if there's anything that needs to be like reformed in the school, it's probably start with the financial aid office. Is that like it's very easy to learn like book skills or like how to handle tax and stuff like that, but it's very hard to like know how to like give people a pleasant experience. And then a lot of students then they just, you know, don't even take a lot of like opportunities that was giving, like scholarship and whatnot, because they don't want to go back and have to deal with the financial aid office. Like I know I would.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. The staff here, sometimes they don't have a lot of customer service, and the information, they don't have anything like about the information. I would also want to suggest, I guess, that it would be nice if the teachers have the ability to know their classes. Like, for example, I am taking, this is just an example, I'm taking like English 101. Like, for example, I just got here, I'm taking English 101. My English is still limited and all that, but my teacher pretty much there's an assumption that, okay, everyone here could meet the standards. I hope that teacher would at least reach out for every single student, or at least make an, I don't know, like investigation, like, oh, which one of my student is having a hard time or needs some work to be done, you know what I'm saying? Because if sometimes I feel like they're already expecting me that I have taken some other classes to be better on that classes. Like, where was this? Physics classes. Teachers, basic classes, it's already hard for them. They're giving us a bunch of homework, but they're not recognizing that we have to deal with other stuff, language barriers and all that. So,
What's your major?
I'm a respiratory technician. They're still in the program, but yeah. So I wish that teachers more knowledgeable as well about what like most of their students is struggling with, in not just like, you know, okay, we all know that physics is hard.
So
But
inclusion.
it's inclusion, that one. So,
Can I ask?
Yeah, of course.
Any volume here is bilingual?
yeah,
And have you guys found it weird that they like force you to speak like fluent English in your English paper? Cause I shouldn't drop name, but
It's
like
okay if
when-
you want to, if you're comfortable.
okay, but
You passed the class already, right?
yeah.
Cool. Go ahead. I'm looking out.
So so for my English 101 class, I also have to drop out one of them because I couldn't keep up, and then the other one was actually with Blaine Hunt, and he was like a fantastic teacher because a lot of students that is in his class are non-native English speakers, and he is able to accommodate, you know, their speaking style instead of like, for example, one of my business teachers just like, well, I don't care. I'm expecting everybody here to know grammar and punctuations and like how to write a report and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, what if this is your first year?
Yeah, exactly.
in America? That's very unforgiving and unfair in a way, because a lot of immigrants, like, they don't have that kind of education.
A lot of Americans don't have it either.
Like, if my parents were in the class and they're just trying to get a better future, they won't. They're like in a trap because like they can't get good grades and they have to repeat, but they can't get good grades either because they can't improve on English speaking. So I think like teacher could, you know, like they don't have to like, oh, just do whatever you want, but also don't be so black and white about certain area of grading, because there's a lot of factors, like gray areas, like cultural practice, like demanded you to show up to, and that goes like attendance is a part of your grade, because if like you come from somebody that's like your culture demands you to go to a lot of holidays and whatnot for your worshiping and whatnot, then that could affect your grades. Or like, you know, you come from a bilingual family like I do, and then you don't speak fluently and you're learning as you're speaking, that could also affect your grades. So I don't think like a lot of rubrics take that gray area into considerations. And there's also like age too, right? Like you have to go to work. Like if you're older, you're gonna have harder time to learn like technical stuff.
Yeah, it's not just like these things. Like, for example, you've been out of school for like 5 years, you just get back. Yeah, and then your teacher is already expecting you so much high there that you're like, okay, well then you should know already this.
Anyway, you have to write.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Asha?
Yes.
Just wanted to call you because I know you were just like,
No, I came so late, so I didn't know if like
you can still
maybe
participate.
absolutely. Right.
You guys are giving great feedback, by the way.
So like, as far as I guess facilities go, as far as being comfortable or welcome and such, I've used most resources here except for like tutoring stuff because I love to suffer. But I've found that it's like within my experience that like I can go to whatever resources, and any single time I had to go to financial aid, it was always piss poor. But as far as like counselors go or advisors, or even just staff, I found that like going to them, you gotta do whatever is necessary, whatever you know. Like I don't really think about it, but I've come to terms that like I feel a whole lot more comfortable if I'm talking to say like Andrew Cho, because he knows more about you know, the things that go down that people may not talk about in regards to like the minute and instances of like racism or microaggressions and such, or like say Sonia Morgan too. Like I feel a whole lot more comfortable going to them for help than say like some random advisor that I've been assigned to. And like I've gone to them a couple of times, but like, you know, it's just like for that particular type of stuff, I don't necessarily like, I do expect them to respect what's happening, but I don't necessarily like expect them to really know, because I know like I feel you can get that kind of feeling where, you know, they definitely don't have like diversity training, because, you know, you're talking about, you know, your experience, and there you can just see like the blank stare and just like simple nods like okay. So
goes perfectly into question 12. Is disconnection.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is with my husband.
Yeah, like I have no advisor now, because like I keep coming back for more, because I, you know, love to suffer under academia, but it's just like, you know, it's a whole lot more freeing to understand that like there is staff here that you can rely on, but it just feels a little bit disheartening that it's not like a majority kind of experience, or like majority of the staff, you know, you feel like at the very least they should have some kind of competency training and these things, especially since we are a very diverse school.
And it's also,
Yeah.
it's also crazy how those teachers who understand us face or are still facing those type of discrimination that we felt.
Yes.
Because like from the stories that I've heard from our professors, it's kind of extreme, like if you hear it, but then they just like they literally don't even sugarcoat it. It's just straight up what happened. It's just crazy how even teachers that are like pretty much in the same income level are still facing those type of discriminations, which is crazy.
Which is why I think that having a club that involves the teachers would solve a lot of the problems and the issues, because there's just so much more, there's so many more things that they allow us to do that can be flexible, not only with our time management, but just the ability to do things. You know, they may know things that are going on in the area. I know that our professors and Dr. Shaw are always telling us about an event. Hey, there's an event going on, you know, go check it out, and, you know, we'll give you extra credit. You know, things like that. I mean, I'm sure she would want to go, and as well as me, to something that involves Pacific Islanders, just to go there, you know, and say, hey, okay, I'm going here and doing these things. Especially me when I work in the OSC, and I'm working in CoLab, I'm trying to engage students and trying to get them to go out and participate in things outside of school. Which is one of the reasons why I go out and participate in things that I can. Whether it's ICC that I did with Washington J4, you know, but it's things like that where I always tell my fellow students, if you have time to do it, just do it. You know, participate in these things. So a lot of it too, we have to take initiative too. You know, so we're doing more than just talking. You know, it's good to talk about it, but we have to be involved too. We can't expect, you know, the teachers to do everything, even in this club that we're talking about having. We have to do our part too, you know. But I think it would go a long way in having teachers be part of the club, because I think a lot of these issues we have can be really resolved and taken care of. Not just for us here, but for the next group, and the next group. And that's what I want, you know, about the club. I want the club not just to be something that, oh, it was here for 2 years, but then I get here and it's not here, you know. And so that's one of the things I want. I want the club to start, but just to continue on, so that when we come back years later to visit, oh, I remember that club, it's still here, nice, you know. those things. I wanna see real progress. I'm getting tired of just that talking stuff.
That is an excellent, excellent point, and I think it's extremely important and valid. And there needs to be, and it's hard because people are coming and going with when they graduate, but then there needs to be a common thread through it, and the teachers or staff could definitely be that common thread. Asha?
There's only my 2 cents in. But so currently we don't have an Asian Pacific Islander club or a multicultural club. Do you guys know? Yeah. So we don't have any of that. Yeah. See, so ICC was actually the only thing that I really participated in the 3 years I've been here, and I feel like having a club like that or being able to build friendships or network with people that way, that would have helped me, you know, feel more connected to school and wanting to be here more and not just going to class and leaving. Because when I'm here, I feel like I need to go to work, do other things, and I focus more on my priorities outside of school than feeling like I can connect with people that can connect with me because of my race and ethnicity. So yeah, and definitely connecting with teachers wise. I'm part East Indian, and I'm surprised that there was even an Indian teacher here, Amandi Puri. She's a sociology teacher, and I feel like if I had gone closer to her, she would have been a great resource and mentor for me. But overall, I've only had like 4 professors of color, mostly just white professors, and I feel like I would have been able to get more insight and more of a, I guess just like a better understanding of what I'm learning with that insight, with more teachers of color. So, yeah. But,
Definitely, I'm the same thing, like same, totally agree 100%. Going back to the Philippines, I'm so active, like for every group I'm in, because I want to be engaged with the school, because it helps me to pretty much divide my time out of school and do not take my priorities, and also it helps me to have some courage to do good at school, because you know priorities at school, and then it will, you have like friends outside and be like, oh my god, this class is so hard, like you have to kind of like someone to vent in, and then you also have like study partners and all that. But here in TCC, I'm just like, okay, I'm by myself, I have class tomorrow, I gotta go to work, gotta study by myself. It's so hard, yeah. You know, the stress level is like at the top, not like if you have like clubs and friends, maybe you could go hang out with first, and then next time you see them, okay, you want to study with this class? It's so nice to have that. But here at TCC, there's nothing.
It's really sad how like the high school that I came from had more events that invites their student in and make them feel at home more than TCC. Like I go to Lincoln, and what they do that they would have like the students that are like from Guam or somewhere, and they would do those dance. They would like, you know, the students to like express the culture at home via an event or something like that, and like African students could do like dance or drums and stuff like that. And I feel like we could have done this here too, but like TCC make it really hard for students to even come together as a group to organize an event like that.
Well, that's why I think we need staff involved with, you know, the faculty and teachers, because, you know, you have those arms. You know, I can't just walk up to the president and talk to him anytime I want about something like this. You know, but if you have Dr. Cho or someone like that, they can.
Yeah.
You know, and if we show that we're serious about the club, you know, he'll go to bat for us. You know, so that's why I said a lot of us have to do our part too. You know what I mean? We just can't rely on those arms, but it'd be nice to have those arms, you know, so that we can have access, so that future students that are coming in, Asian Pacific Islander students that are coming in, you know, and students of color, so when they come in, they don't feel like we're feeling now. You know, that's the whole purpose of trying to do this group, is so that we make their school experience great, so that they can talk about TCC in a positive light. Oh, I had a great experience there, you know, because I was able to have resources and access to teachers that could help make those transitions easy for me. And I want to be part of that team that says, hey, we laid the groundwork for that to happen.
Feel about the low numbers of diversity and culture among the TCC staff at that facility? Faculty, sorry, pizza. Faculty. Oh, in regards to your race and ethnicity, how do you feel about the low numbers of diversity and culture among TCC faculty and staff?
I don't see that many Pacific Islander teachers that's in here. I'm not too sure if there is any, but I haven't come across any yet. So I guess I would like to have more diversity of teachers coming in, but then again, it has to do with their education. Like, you know what I mean? What is the credentials that they have in order to be able to apply for this job in order to get it? So it's kind of like they have to go through their own kind of job credentials in order to even get into TCC, which kind of diverse to the fact that we don't have like a diverse people, like a lot more of us trying to get a better education because we're unaware of the resources that we have available for us, or even if we have any resources available for us. So.
Asha?
I think again for me, just like adding on to that, so I identify as East Indian, Native American, and Black. It would be amazing to have a Native American professor, or just to have more professors of color. Because again, I feel like it brings more insight in the classroom, and I could connect more with my teachers and what they're teaching, and I feel like those professors bring a piece of their background and a piece of what they've learned and what they've experienced to the classroom, and I feel like it's very important to tie in real-life experiences with what we're learning. So having that background information, I think, is so important and vital to like my own personal education, and for me to be able to connect and trust my professor and what I'm learning and what we're discussing. So
Not just professor, I think faculties also, I would argue that sometimes faculties are even more important because like the financial aid office, for example, if I can find somebody that like is bilingual in there, I would feel comfortable. Like if I was a Chinese student and I come in and I'm first generations and I have no idea how these things work, finding somebody that speaks my language could help like enormously. And then what happened is I would tell other students about it that I know of that are also Chinese, and it could start like a chain reactions on how the student could get more comfortable with the campus.
Anyone else?
So I'd say like I kind of noticed that like I see more diverse professors as we go along, like more so specific subjects like social sciences mainly, and because like not just me but just like I guess overall it seems like I don't know, like any sciences that are more physical or what have you seem a little bit less diverse, or even just like let's say the basic requisites classes aren't really all that diverse, so I really can't like, you know, I also feel like what G said, that it'd probably be a lot more helpful if there was more diverse staff overall and also faculty, because, you know, the more diverse staff and faculty there are, the more we can reach out to people who fall under the radar.
In regards to race and ethnicity, what can TCC do to make people feel welcome here at TCC? Regarding race and ethnicity.
regarding
Your race and ethnicity.
I think for one, it's just updating their website, you know, that's the first thing a student's gonna look at, and I feel like that website is gonna speak to me and include me into the school, then the more I want to enroll. But right now it's like, it's not calling out to me, it's making me feel welcome.
Yeah, include us on the website, include us in the to the school campus. Put our national artists in there, put some different displays in there, not just like black people, not just like white people. Put us in there so we feel welcome. Like us, what I'm saying, put a rainbow flag in there for my community. Put, I don't know, like put artists in it. Library, you can see just black and white. There's no history. There's no history with other culture. If we're targeting the culture and then equity and equality, we should start over there. So maybe at least that will help us to open up.
Anyone else want to shine on that question?
I wonder if you reach out to different races. So like you know, workforce, they target low income people and they reach out to as many as people as they can. Do they even reach out to a diverse community, or do they just target just different scenarios that they're going towards? So like low income, and then people that are going for this degree or this degree, they tailor it towards that, or not majority, tailor it as a diverse. That makes sense.
But you're saying recruit more diversity of
Yeah, do they even recruit people, or even try and make like an outreach to like, hey, this is what we have to offer on campus. We, you know, not necessarily recruiting, but necessarily giving them the option, like, hey, we have this type of people or this type of people. We have every color and race here. So, you know, how can we help you get an education, kind of deal. So.
I'll say get a beat on, if you can, if it's possible, get a beat on the students that were coming and have a welcoming community for them.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, someone for the Islanders and Mason, you know, and try to accommodate them all if possible, you know, and welcome them, you know, tell them about the club, tell them about, you know, TCC, and I think it'd be more comfortable for them to hear it from someone, you know, of their race or close to, that they can talk to. And I think that will loosen them up and know that, give them some confidence and know that, okay, I have some people here that are of my culture that I can talk to, and right away they feel comfortable. Now we can introduce them to the clubs, you know, and other things that go on, some of the things that they might want to take part in. We can, you know, now that the teachers are implemented into the club, now we can introduce them to some of the teachers. Hey, let me see your class schedule. Oh, okay, hey, let me walk you up there and, you know, talk to them. So now they have a connection to the teacher, just making things easier for them. I think it's better when you have something like that, when you can see them face to face and welcome them.
So having a peer-to-peer relationship with new students in order to share a student who's already more experienced their social capital with a new student,
Yes.
and have an entire board of them.
So that way they don't, yes, that way they don't feel lost.
Great.
You know, now they're talking to someone that, hey, he or she looks like me. Now I feel more comfortable saying, hey, where's the financial aid office? Hey, where's this resource? Hey, where's that resource? Can you tell me a little bit about this? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we can answer those questions and give them the confidence to be able to continue that.
Asha.
I have to agree with that. That would be really great to recruit racially and ethnically diverse welcoming committee, including faculty, because they offer orientations every quarter, every year for students to go to, but it's not required. And some students don't want to go because they're coming here to get in and get out. So I think having that would be great, like having welcoming packets, and then getting, I guess, paired up with a student, a welcoming committee student that is in the same program or something. It would be able to, I don't know, it would create a more welcoming atmosphere for those students and allow them to connect with people that welcoming committee.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and we're absolutely going to present it to the EDC committee to let them know that this is something from the students, for the students, and it's really, really big.
Yeah, and you build a bond, the bonds are built, boom, right there immediately. So there's no waiting, they don't have to wait a couple of months before they loosen up and get out of their shell. They're boom, they're right, off and running, that's how we want it.
And then having faculty members a part of that too.
Oh, yeah.
That creates a way better atmosphere and to make you feel a little bit more welcome, because you're gonna be taught by those people, or you're gonna be working with those people in the financial aid office or wherever. So
Would you guys personally be interested in being on a welcoming board,
Of
something like that?
Of course.
All right, all right.
I'm not sure we were
You're
trying to
very
convince
rapid.
this, but
Right.
I think the way how we look at it is if we focus more on how we would make the students to be part and engaged on the school, they will do so much academically. The graduate percentage here in the school will rise up. More money, more students, more teachers will be needed for all that. Then TCC will bring it out. We're just all basically trying to focus on that encouragement for the students to be part of the school. Because if we wanted to focus on that, more students will be more likely to go to school and then raise up their grades here at TCC.
And the biggest thing too is that they know they're not alone. So
Exactly.
they come here, they know, okay, I'm not alone.
Because sometimes
Yeah.
I just like, I don't want to go to school, you know, it's the same system, which I could just learn it through computer, I could just research it, but again, still, there's so much you could learn inside this room. But sometimes, you know, the stigma over there, like your top classes, is just like, well, I'm just really by myself over there, I don't really have any friends inside the school. I could just learn it.
I
True,
personally
Googling or
experienced that
what now.
before.
Really?
Even in TCC, because like how I speak English, a lot of like Vietnamese classmates would we come to the conclusion that I was born English, but I haven't lived here long. So when they found out, like especially in my English class, when like half of the class is like, you know, first year or like second year of staying in US, and they found out that I also speak Vietnamese, they're just like, they would just immediately kind of bond, and it's just, then they become extremely more productive. It's odd because before, you know, we kind of talk to each other and whatnot, they're very kept to themselves and they didn't want to bother anybody. Like there's like that intimidation that they had, and then once they found out, oh, this girl could speak English and Vietnamese at the same time, and she you know, she's not off-putting, I think that just immediately formed a trust. And so they immediately, you know, you can see it change drastically, that they're more engaged in class because they can finally participate in like discussions and whatnot. Like if they can't get the idea out in English, they can get their idea out in Vietnamese to me, and then we can actually talk about the subject, and then we can progress somewhere. So it just, I think that the welcoming community should be like a crucial part. Honestly, I feel like it should be like a student council kind of thing. Like I've seen the student council and they're not in themselves that diverse either.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's like, you know, crucial, and I think that teachers should be made aware of that also. That the moment, you know, people realize that you have somebody that belongs to your group, they immediately become more engaged, and I think that's what all of us need to.
Definitely.
In regards to your race and ethnicity, how do you feel about the experience white students receive at TCC compared to your own experience here at TCC?
Oh my God.
Anyone want to go first?
I really haven't, I guess it's for just my own personal experience. I really haven't looked at any color in itself or any race when it comes down to how people are treated. I look at it more so of how they uphold their end of as a student. So I guess I wouldn't be able to answer that question at all because I base everything off of like, okay, so you do homework or if you did this, it's like it's nothing to do with any race or anything. And any professor that I went through that I worked with hasn't accommodated just one particular race. I mean, they address everybody same equally. I did experience one time with an English teacher that one side was all just brown colored people and one side was all white, and she would only talk to one particular section. But in general, that was like one bad apple out of a majority of 5-6 different teachers that we had, which is fantastic teachers, and they helped each and every one of us grow, and it had different perspectives for different people that was going through different life experiences, you know, because everyone have different things. But in the general rule, I didn't think I had any differences between race concerning that question.
Anyone else?
I used to look at it like that. Like, I was like, oh, it's probably because I didn't do as well on that test or something like that. But like the more, because like, okay, I'm in the business major, and it's sad to say that like in the business, I haven't seen any teacher of color in the business program. I think there's one black teacher, and that's it.
Wow.
And so, like in the class, especially when it comes to communication and stuff like that, most of the idea that was given out by like, you know, Caucasian students, and these are just minute things, but it's over time that you can tell that it's the first day of school, and then at the end of the quarter, you can tell like a drastic difference. Well, like if they give out an idea, the teacher would be, wow, that's fantastic, you're going somewhere in life with it. Or like if you give an idea, they're like, well, that's a good idea. and it's just like, it sounds so petty, but at the same time, like if you're gonna tell somebody like a compliment that's like, oh, well, your idea is gonna get you somewhere in life, versus, well, you have a good idea for your grades. Like, you don't tell me that doesn't affect the student moral. Especially if you're a student who doesn't speak English well, but understand it, because like a lot of time with bilingual kids, they understand better than they can speak. So that just put them down even more, so they're never gonna get engaged in class.
2 more questions and I'll let you guys go. What incidents of racism have you heard about on campus? Personal experience, things that you just heard. Have you heard any racist experiences happening on campus?
No.
No. All right. So, in regards to race and ethnicity, how would having more professors that reflect your culture boost your momentum as a student? Will it affect your momentum? How so?
I feel like if I had more professors of my race, I would feel like my success rate at school would be better. Not that I have to be like them, but just knowing that someone from my culture has succeeded before makes me feel like I have the resources, I have the background to do the same. If that person can do it, why can't I? But if there's not much professors that are of my culture, then I feel like being the first is gonna be impossible.
Anyone else?
It wouldn't be, because it gives you something, it gives me something to aspire to. You know, just, you know, because a lot of times, you know, Samoans get a bad rap, you know, so it'd be nice to see, you know, someone that wasn't a football player or a wrestler, you know, something else to aspire to. So yeah, it'd be awesome, you know, if to have a professor or a doctor that was Samoan that was teaching you. You know, I definitely would take his class, regardless of what it was, just because now I have somebody to look up to and a goal to reach. I can reach that. And then I don't have to go this way and do other things outside of that, you know, and take the shortcuts and the easy way out. You know, and to have that example in front of you is great.
Hiring the diverse professors is important, but I think breaking the stereotypical mold is also important. Like if you hire, like you can say that you have a diverse cast of professors, but all of them are like language teacher. Like that doesn't help anything.
Right. Different disciplines or
Yeah. So if I if I have like a Vietnamese professor that teach French, well that's gonna fall into the mold again. But if I have like a Vietnamese professor that's like teaching like IT or like, you know, chemistry or something like that, that could like potentially inspire a lot of students too. Like they hire like the stereotype of like if I hire somebody from Pacific Island and they teach PE, that's like That's like saying that, oh, well, we did what you asked us to, but only on paper.
So if you walked into a new class and you saw that the professor was of the same race or ethnicity as you, how would it make you feel right then and there?
I feel
I
easy.
feel good.
I feel awkward.
I felt good.
I feel awkward.
I felt good just being in the learning community and having minority teachers. So I know I feel real good having someone that's my race, you know, and being in this class.
Exactly.
You know. And I don't know if it's a natural thing, but you know, I've enjoyed my experience, my learning experience here more than I ever have in high school. You know what I mean, I actually like to come to school. I mean, I know that kind of sounds weird.
No, we all do.
No, it's so
we all do.
Yeah, you know,
I
so
agree.
and a lot of that is, you know, I have teachers and they're minority teachers of color, and I just feel like when I ask something of them or they ask something of me, there's like they can relate to me. You know what I mean? I know they can. They know what I'm going through, you know, and so it makes it easier for me to feel comfortable and just be me. You know, I don't have to like, oh man, I can't really say what I want to say or be me because you know, I got this guy, he's one, you know, teacher, and you know, I just feel more comfortable.
I would say it would be. I feel like it'd be a whole lot more personal. Cause like, you know, like, especially if they're coming from the same kind of background as you, like, not only on just like a racial ethnicity level, but also like, you know, like I was born in the U.S., so like, let's say that they're they were also born in the U.S. to like Vietnamese immigrant parents. Then like, not only can I, you know, connect to them with that in mind, but also it would be like, you know, you would kind of view them more like, kind of like a distant relative, you know, that you don't really want to disappoint. So that's why I feel like it'd be a little bit more personal, and I feel like that in itself would be some kind of comfort, and it would make you like, you know, strive just to not disappoint them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think especially, I feel like there aren't a lot of Indian professors out there, like that I've experienced. Like I never had any in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, except for one here. I think even seeing, my mom's from Fiji Islands, having a professor with a background that's from Fiji or India, or a Native American professor, I would feel way more comfortable and coming to them for advice or coming to them for more help. Because yeah, like Jay first said, I don't want to disappoint, and I feel like having that different perspective out of my family, knowing what I know about my family, would be amazing. I feel like that would be really great, and I just feel like there are not enough like Indian professors and Native professors to share that. So yeah.
DJ?
100% totally agree with everyone, but reality speaking wise, we have to consider if the school rate for the teacher can basically part that is there more Asian teachers that qualify for the job. We gotta think about that. But I think on my thought right now, it would be nice to have that, but however, the school can meet that standard to have that teachers, or for example, to have white people have more higher rate teachers graduated here in the US. Where are you gonna get the Asian people? Are you gonna hire them from different countries, fly them here? It's not how it works. So I'm thinking the other side that who we're trying to convince here still. But yeah, what I'm thinking is it would be really nice to have like, I don't know, like a teacher conference where they can discuss different culture, where they can be more knowledgeable about different cultures. So then if I am a white teacher, I have knowledge with everyone, I could basically, or maybe could try to reach out for my bilingual students. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like give at least like a knowledge to basically be with them and more understanding. So that's just my point right there. Because
extensive intercultural.
And
training.
Training, exactly.
Yeah, like a training, that would be.
It's like,
Mhm.
it's.
Because, yeah, let's,
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, we're not gonna get what we wanted here.
Right.
If you're asking for, I want a Filipino t-shirt every single class that I have.
Yeah,
There's
no,
nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then not all the time you basically get the same classes every single time. Like you are required to take this first, like English 101, then the next quarter you're required that, but it's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it would be, for that question, it's nice.
In a
That's the
perfect
I think it's the,
Yeah.
the question. Yeah, the perfect world,
I
but
like that you said
reality.
that. This is like completely off, but I just want you to answer this one last question. Poverty is seen as a trauma. We are trying to enforce that our professors are more poverty informed so they can better approach people that are coming from different avenues of poverty. How do you feel about TCC becoming a more poverty competency inclusion type of school? So that means that they know that poverty can do this, you can be,
So a lot of times, if you've grown up in poverty or you suffer some sort of trauma, it's going to affect the way that you think, the choices that you make, the people that you gravitate towards or away from, and it kind of bleeds into every little aspect of your life. And a lot of times people don't even realize that it's happening or that is affecting their mindset. And so if they are able to be shown describing what poverty is, describing how the trauma affects them, then they can realize, oh, this does affect me, this has changed different things in my life, I want to learn more about it and become more informed, and then they can slowly change
the level. So how do you feel about TCC becoming a more poverty informed and poverty competency type of campus?
I agree.
That would be amazing.
I think that would be great.
My follow-up question to that is, unlike my last question that I gave you, was if you walk into a class and you found a teacher that was of your same race or ethnicity. Imagine you walk into a class and the new teacher is there. They are not of your same race or ethnicity, but they share their background and let you know that they grew up in a single parent household, they work below the poverty line, they worked 3 jobs to put themselves through school, they were part of the military. If a professor or faculty or staff shared background of themselves with you that showed that they were either first generation, college student, immigrated to America, would that make you feel more welcome?
So they do that. Well, all the teachers that I know, they do it on the first day. They kind of tell you what their rubrics is, but the syllabus, but they tell you a little background about themselves. And just for my personal, every teacher.
I have that too, like most of my successful
Yeah.
classes.
Right, and they tell like,
Those
oh,
are
I
the
didn't do
teachers.
this, and they do that, I did this, I did that, but they kind of give us a background of what they are. But when they read their syllabus, it kind of paints a different perspective of that teacher once that syllabus is made for myself. So they're like, oh, you can't do this, you have 6 absences and you're out. And in my back of my head already, it's like, well, I have 4 kids, I'm a single parent, like what am I supposed to do if my kids are sick? So in reality, the syllabus that I'm looking at, it's kind of like a reality to myself. It's like, oh, maybe if I can't live up to his standards, then I'm supposed to just pull out now, kind of deal. So it's kind of discouraging to have. I mean, I understand the background that they have to have a syllabus, so they have like this accountability between student and teacher, but it also paves a lot of for myself and a lot of students that I encounter a leeway of like, oh man, did you just see the syllabus? Like, what? Is this teacher gonna be like this whole entire quarter kind of deal? So it kind of gives a different perspective of the teacher after they have a common ground of like, hey, I did this and that. This is where I'm at now. You can do it. So
Does it make a difference if the teacher that's sharing their background is white?
Does it make a difference to you?
Does it make a difference to you?
That's what I'm asking.
I was able to learn a little bit about one of my professors who I assumed was just very well off, white, lived in Cape Harbor, rich, doing really well. And then when I learned later from a friend that this professor had grown up in a single parent home, had struggled, put herself through college, been in the military, and was able to get positions in very high universities and chose to be here on TCC campus to help students of our level in this community. I was absolutely shocked, and it extremely increased my respect for that professor over and above how much I respected her before. But I thought, wow, I really wish this was something that she had shared with the class on the first day, because it would have completely changed my perspective of how she was.
Okay, the reason I brought that up is because when we had one of those meetings, one of my fellow students, Jamal, had brought that up. He asked the lady, he said, you know, I'm not saying that you haven't gone through any poverty or any issues. I'm just saying that when you're talking poverty to a person of color, especially me, a black person, that there's a disconnect.
Yeah. There will absolutely always be a difference between the kind of poverty or trauma that a person of color goes through versus any situation that a white person goes through.
And so,
Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm asking fellow students here, does it matter if the person is sharing their background? Does it matter if they're white or not?
I think that it's a tricky thing with sharing your trauma, because a lot, it could, to me, it goes two ways. It could be like a tools for understanding, or it could be a tools for like somewhat use like a weapon. Like, oh well, I also went through it, so I understand the difficulties, or I went through it, so I understand you're able to do it. I'm able to do it, so you're able to do it. And I think the latter part is usually how it goes, because teachers, they always want to inspire, right? So they always like, well, look at me, I come from the, bottom of the barrel kind of background, but I got myself out of it. Well, that's where the disconnections start. I think it's because, well, you're speaking on your behalf, on yourself, and not everybody's the same. If I was to go with the narrative, I wouldn't even be here. I mean, you're dumb. I'm not with the narrative, not everybody's the same, and that's really where the big disconnection is. I would think that even with color professors, they would have that disconnection too, because it's hard to sympathize with each other's trauma. It's extremely difficult to be able to. That we can use that as part of a connection, but that shouldn't be like a whole focus point to me.
And see, the reason I again brought that up was simply because the numbers show that, when I was in sociology class, the numbers show that even middle class whites, or poor class whites have it better than middle class blacks. So that's the reason I'm asking that question.
Okay.
Does it make a difference when someone is white is sharing their, stories of poverty and things like that, and they're talking to people of color? There's a disconnect right away, like they look at the teacher and say, come on, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, poverty competency does not just have to be the background. It could be the way that the syllabus has changed. It could be the language that the professor used. It could be the way that they do the homework. I mean, I know that Evergreen College don't even have a final project. They don't do thesis papers. They have projects. So that can compensate for a child, like for a student that doesn't have the material to do much, or maybe didn't come into college with the type of educational background that most people come in, or the expectation of that educational background. So poverty competency is just the idea, this ideology that people that go through poverty have trauma and process things differently.
Right.
That's more so of what that is. And we can meet them at that level. So with that being said, does that change your perspective then?
I just feel,
I didn't say anything.
okay. No, I think cultural competency, and then the school having more of an understanding of the student body income wise, I feel like those things go hand in hand, and I think they're important to kind of train together. I personally, going to your question, I personally do feel like it would matter to me if it was a white professor with something similar to me, like when it comes to their experiences or being of a certain socioeconomic status, because I just feel like I connect more no matter what, looking at race or ethnicity. I feel like that's just too important to me and too important nowadays for me to ignore. And I feel like that'll incorporate the way I communicate in a relationship.
Well, guys, this concludes the session. Thank you so much for your participation. Have a great day.